Let's talk about the 5th season of the Green Lantern Corps series in my DC Cinematic Universe. After the end of the 4th season, the Green Lanterns have lost their powers, and Volthoom, the First Lantern, is out on a rampage. The first episode of this season is simply going around the universe, finding all of the Green Lantern Corps members and seeing what they are up to since they've lost their powers. Jo Mullein has taught herself the alien language of the planet she is stranded on and has been working very hard to afford to buy a ship with a faster-than-light engine so she can return to Oa. John Stewart is traveling with his wife Shayera Hall, and they have returned to Thanagar as they are trying to track down the other Green Lanterns still out there in space. And this season we will heavily follow the struggles of Razor and Aya. They have been in the other seasons so far, but this season is really going to be focusing on this too, because after the great depowering, Aya, who was simply the AI created by Ganthet to run Green Lantern power rings and had become so sentient that she had earned a ring of her own, is now gone. Her body is gone because the ring that she lives in can't get power anymore. So it is simply Razor carrying around her ring, hoping that she will be restored. And then we cut back to Oa, where the group of lanterns that were on Oa after the first lantern appeared, attacked them, and flew off after realizing they're powerless, not really worth his time. They are all scared, wondering what to do because they have no powers and they're stranded on this planet where they don't believe they have a spaceship to get off. And suddenly there's a loud boom, and we see a swirling, contorting vortex open in front of them. And the new gods walk out of it. Orion, Mr. Miracle, and Big Barda. Many of the Green Lanterns know of the new gods. They are an insanely, beyond powerful race of super aliens that live outside of Lantern jurisdiction because they are so incredibly strong they didn't need Lantern's help. And they reveal that they have come there because their mother boxes have told them that the White Lantern, the source being, the thing that is responsible for all of existence, was detected here. So this is the season where we get the backstory of what source energy is, what lantern energy is, what white light lantern energy is, revealing the entire backstory that I've already talked about the White Lantern entity and the source of all of the lantern energies. It turns out that Volthoom was a member of the Guardians, and he was their first attempt to create something to combat the Manhunters. They tapped into raw source energy and attempted to forcefully bind it to Volthoom's very being, and it drove him insane. All of those emotions coursing through him because the Guardians understood the source energy as it was divided into the 7 different emotional energy spectrums, and they forced a connection inside of Volthoom to all of those spectrums. The raging cascade of emotions inside his brain drove him completely fucking insane. After they realized that he was insane, before he could really do anything with this power, the Guardians trapped him inside a chamber that would become the central power battery on Oa. Because the emotions are what drove him insane, that is what led the Guardians to cut their emotions off from themselves. And because green energy was the most central, the least corrupting, the easiest to control of the energy spectrums, that is the one that Ganthet decided to specifically study and eventually led to Ganthet forging the first Green Lantern ring. But now that Volthoom has been let out, he is using the full power of his abilities to wreak havoc across the universe. It is random. It is directionless. It is just fury incarnate directed outward at everything. The new gods warn the Green Lanterns that if they're not able to capture and stop this man soon, that this false reading of White Lantern energy might attract the attention of Darkseid. And that is something they do not want. The new gods throughout this season will also be the ones to introduce the Green Lanterns to the ideas of the prophecies of Brightest Day and Blackest Night, the very things that the Guardians wrote into the Green Lantern Oath. Blackest Night prophecy tells of someone finally able to solve the anti-life equation, and the Brightest Day prophecy goes over what it would take to defeat the forces of anti-life. The Green Lanterns eventually realize what they have to do is gather all of the Lantern Corps, All of them. And they need as many power rings as they can so they can draw the energy out of Volthoom and depower him. So this is the season where we are also introduced to Larfleeze as they have to track him down because they need an Orange Lantern on their team, and there can only be one Orange Lantern because of what it is. And the depowered members of the Green Lantern Corps rally together to try and figure out a way to get their power back. And while they are going around collecting all of the lanterns, when they get to one planet, it was specifically the planet where Sodom Yat's platoon had been stationed around, the one that we saw Sodom Yat die in space orbiting. When they get there, they hear that the planet has remained protected despite the lack of Green Lanterns. And when they ask why, they say, because of the Ion. And when the Green Lanterns finally meet this Ion, it is none other than Sodom Yat. We get a quick little flashback to show that he died in space, choked to death in space, but then the sun, which is a yellow sun on this planet, came from around the planet and irradiated Sodom's body, and so the boy got his Daxamite superpowers. He's fine, he's superpowered, he's back. Now, throughout this season, we're going to also focus pretty heavily on Jessica Cruz, as she still has her powers, because she is rocking Ganthit's original ring, Alan Scott's ring from Earth. Hers is an actual true will-forged ring. And now we'll focus on the pressure that causes being the only one of the entire Green Lantern Corps with powers. We're going to be focusing very heavily on how emotional rings are actually forged. For example, the yellow ring comes from not your own fear, but your ability to instill fear in others. And the same thing goes for the blue ring. It doesn't come from your sense of hope, it comes from your ability to instill hope in others. And eventually this is going to lead the non-powered Green Lanterns to realize that willpower is something that only grows stronger with more people. So, if all of the lanterns gather together and they all try to forge rings at the same time, maybe they'll actually be able to do it. And so we're going to get a scene of all of the Green Lanterns forging their rings together, and we're going to get a lovely thing where we hear cascading pings as all of the Green Lantern Corps forge new, pure, actual Green Lantern rings. Not all of them will be able to do it, but I'm talking all the humans, Kilowog, a couple of the main alien ones, and yes, even Aya will get their rings forged. And now, since Aya is an AI that has managed to accumulate enough actual willpower to form an actual true emotional spectrum Green Lantern ring, it makes her a body. It makes her a Green Lantern construct of an actual living humanoid body. Not a robotic body like she'd been rocking before, but an actual green-skinned humanoid body. And she and Razor can be together. And now with all of the new Green Lanterns, they have plenty of lanterns to go and try and fight the first Lantern to drain him of his energy. Unfortunately, by this time, this guy has been captured by Darkseid, who is holding him for study. Seeing if he can get enough readings off of this guy to really hunt down and find where the source entity itself actually went. And so by the time the New Gods and all of the collected Lantern Corps arrive on Apokolips to collect Volthoom, Darkseid's done with... Darkseid lets him go. Couldn't care fucking less. This dude means nothing to him. Volthoom tries to attack Darkseid for, daring to imprison him again, and Volthoom's attacks, the ones that vaporized Mongol into atoms before the Green Lantern's very eyes, bounce off of Darkseid. Darkseid actually chuckles at that and says, "You are not worth my time." And suddenly a huge boom tube opens up and just sweeps away all of the lanterns, including Volthoom. We then get the big final fight. All of the Lantern Corps team up. They encircle Volthoom. They in unison say all of their different oaths at the same time, and they draw energy out of him into their rings. And Volthoom collapses, a depowered regular Guardian. And then, as the Green Lanterns are rebuilding and they're thanking the New Gods for their help in tracking this guy down, we cut back to Apocalypse, where we see Darkseid once again contemplating the anti-life equation, a thing he has apparently been doing for nearly 1 billion years. There is a wall of just mathematics, philosophy, just this giant, hundreds, thousands of feet wide wall in front of Darkseid, and it's what he stares at every single day. The soundtrack is building up, it's getting more intense, it's getting scarier, and finally we hear Darkseid's mumblings be spoken, and he asks, "What is the opposite of life?" Darkseid is. And then we hear a corrupted ping. It is wrong. It sounds wrong to the core. The lanterns hear it. Everyone hears it. It is horrible. And after that horrible ping echoes through the lanterns and they realize someone must have solved the anti-life equation, they begin rushing out, trying to find what it could be. And finally, when they decide to go check in with the new gods, when the Green Lanterns fly to New Genesis, they find that the planet is completely scorched over, almost entirely dead. And then they watch as a massive, planet-sized boom tube opens up, and the entirety of Apocalypse is swallowed by it, disappearing out of Lantern space. Lanterns fly down to the surface of New Genesis, and they find only 3 survivors: Highfather, Mr. Miracle, and Big Barda. They reveal that Darkseid was able to solve the anti-life equation. His forces attacked them and wiped them out with ease. And when Highfather points out that they are the only 3 survivors, the Green Lanterns ask him, "Where are all of the bodies? Where are all of your mother boxes?" And Highfather says, "Darkseid took all of them." The Green Lanterns ask where could Darkseid be going, and Highfather says he has gone to where the source entity is. He has gone to finally trap it. And when they say, "Well, where is that?" Highfather says, "I don't know." And then we cut to Earth. And we see Superman, we see Batman, we see Wonder Woman, we see The Flash. We see what they're doing as suddenly appearing in the sky, orbiting Earth, is the planet Apocalypse. And now Darkseid, with the full power of the anti-life equation, has arrived to invade Earth. And that is the end of the 5th season of the Green Lantern Corps series in my DC Cinematic Universe.